Welcome back to Microsoft AI Showcase. I'm your host, Rupert Stützle. I'm excited to introduce Michel Morvan, co-founder and executive chairman of Cosmo Tech. Michel has worked to boost the technical transformation of French industry as a chief scientist, full professor, Eisenhower Fellow, a member of the OECD network of experts on artificial intelligence, and the president of the Institute for Technological Research, System X. In just a moment, he'll be talking us through Cosmo Tech's AI simulation platform. Let's get into it. So Michel, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So Michel, can you tell us a bit about Cosmo Tech's AI simulation platform?
Of course, with pleasure. So Cosmo Tech, we are a software vendor, and what we're doing is, as you said, AI simulation and also digital twin. And with that, we help decision makers in the most complex and uncertain industries to make optimal decisions, taking into account a lot of complexity. By the way, Cosmo stands for complex system modeling. So that's what we are doing. That's what we are good at. And we are doing these AI simulation tools, and we are coupling that with the most advanced other AI tools to optimize the decisions in the industry.
That's fascinating. So how does it exactly work supporting decision-making?
Well, in a nutshell, it's kind of a navigator. You know, when you take your car in the morning and you want to go somewhere, you use a navigator. It can be Waze, it can be whichever one. And what do? Well, you see a map, and then you put your address, and then the navigator is going to simulate and compute every possible pathway, taking into account the constraints, the dynamics, everything, and find the best route for you and adapt it. If you turn right rather than turning left, it's going to recompute it and find the best solution for you. Well, that's what we do at Cosmo Tech at a much bigger scale on much more complex, systems for the industry. It can be a supply chain, and you need to know how you can be adapted to, disruption. In the last years, every sector has been disrupted in many, many cases, and it's going to be more and more. And we provide tools like navigators, but for the industry, using AI, using simulation, using AI-driven optimization, putting that together to help decision makers to make every day, every month, every year, the best possible decision.
I like that metaphor of having a map and a navigator to navigate all those complexities. So what type of manufacturers would profit most from your system?
Well, today we have customers in many domains, in automotive, in technology companies, consumer goods, energy, and all of them are facing extremely complex situations with a lot of complexity, in the sense, a lot of cascading effects. When they make a decision, things happen, and that was unexpected. And also, at the same time, there is uncertainties coming from, things from the outside, and they have to manage that. And let's take, the supply chain. The CEO talks to the VP supply chain and says, well, I want you to increase, revenue, reduce cost. Oh, by the way, I want the supply chain to be resilient. Oh, and if you could also reduce CO2 emission, it would be great. It's extremely complex. Everything changes all the time. We are not intelligent enough, smart enough to make those decisions. And that's where AI simulation, the twins, can really help to provide the best solutions and that's very important because it's based on simulation, because the idea, when you want to make a decision, what do you need? It's good to know the past, what happened in the past in your system. It's good to know where you are, but what you really want to know is the future. And that's what can be brought by simulation.
That's always the big challenge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I understand. How do you work with Microsoft, to help the customers?
Well, we are completely fully integrated with Azure. So we are integrated with Azure Digital Twin. We are using the managed services from Azure and Azure Data Explorer and all the other to manage the data. But what is the most important is that for the customer, it's transparent, it's seamless. It's on
transparent in the sense that the customer just doesn't see it.
They can see it if they want, but it's the integration is there, and it's on the customer's tenant, and so it's it's very simple. And what we provide together is the ability to go for, customers, they are very, very useful. They are rich on data. They have a lot of data, and it's important to have this data. But they are not rich on insight. What they need is insight. And together, that's what we provide.
So turning data into insight.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how are you envisioning leveraging Microsoft technologies going forward to further build capabilities at customers?
Well, we are currently working together, and it will be very, very soon there. I mean, it's almost there, on coupling the Gen AI, based on language, to ask questions, to interact, to receive answers, and the AI simulation platform that is very reliable, very precise, can give very precise, specific answers about the way, the way to operate, the best course of action to obtain, such KPI. And we put all that together. And then it makes that very, very easy to use for the customer, because the customer can ask questions. Oh, I see that there is a problem there. How is it going to impact me?
Yeah.
But it's calling, in a way, the AI simulation tool, running simulations, and it comes back. And then, what can I do? And, that's these kind of things. That's really the future.
So picking up on those different options that the users of the software, your customers have, how many of those different sort of pathways do you simulate at a given time? Do you do many in parallel?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have some customers for which we are doing, 100,000 to find, the best possible way. And of course, it's, the optimization to find the best one among the, let's say, 100,000 is done with AI-driven optimization and a lot of very sophisticated tools. But the important thing is that at the end of the day, rather than, testing one or two options, the customer can now have 100,000 of them tested.
That's like chess, right?
Exactly. And you find the best one.
Yeah.
And that's what you need at the end of the day, in front of such a complexity and uncertainty.
Yeah, I like that. So that sounds really impressive. I understand that you brought a demo for us.
Yes, exactly. I hope it will clarify if necessary.
Great. So let's go to the demo and see it.
What if you had an AI assistant that was able to simulate your company's operations, taking into account all the relevant constraints and processes? You would be able to predict the impact of any business decision. You would be able to prepare for disruptions before they happen and to navigate towards the best possible future. Imagine you are a supply chain manager. In the morning, you ask your Cosmo Tech Enterprise Navigator to update you on the trajectory that your business is taking. You just learned about a disruption on a transport route and are wondering how it will affect the predicted profit and service level. Your AI assistant decides he needs to create a new what-if scenario simulating the impact of the disruption on your operations. When the results come in, you learn that the disruption will reduce your profit to 12 million, so you ask your assistant about what you can do to mitigate the impact of this disruption. You get 3 different recommendations: changing your sourcing proportions, increasing your safety stocks, or implementing a temporary expedite shipping process. You decide to change the sourcing proportions, but you want to know what are the sourcing proportions that he recommends to maximize the predicted profit. Your assistant decides to run a Cosmo Tech optimization that will maximize the profit by changing the sourcing proportions. The results are in, and you get a recommendation that gets you back on track with your planned trajectory. Now you would like to be more proactive and want to stress test your supply chain and identify the main vulnerabilities. Your assistant decides to run 2 vulnerability scans on the Cosmo Tech platform, one focusing on the transports and the other on the suppliers. The answer soon arrives and you learn about the 2 most important transports and suppliers you should focus on to mitigate potential disruptions before they have a chance to happen.
That was an exceptional demo from our partner, Cosmo Tech. So thank you, Michel, for doing that demo. We have a few more questions for you. So the first one is, where do you see this going in the next 3 to 5 years with everything moving so fast?
Well, I'm very enthusiastic about that, so take it as you want. But what I strongly believe is that the world is becoming so complex and so uncertain with disruptions, a lot of cascading effects because everything is related to everything, that it's unavoidable. It's going to develop because for a very simple reason is that it's too complex for our brain. So we need help, right? And we need help that will use AI, all the sorts of AI simulation, Gen AI, putting them together. And the great thing, by the way, when we put them together is that, this AI simulation cannot have hallucination because it's, anchored in the reality of the system. That's like your Waze navigator doesn't hallucinate, right?
Well, I hope so, yes.
I hope so. And I'm sure, it doesn't. Doesn't mean the results are always exceptional, but it doesn't hallucinate. And
that's
when
great.
We put the two together, it's a way to remove, almost all hallucinations and to bring people a fantastic tool to make decisions. That's what they have to do every day. That's, the competitiveness of their business. The fact that they will survive, that they will thrive, will come, I'm certain, from these kind of tools that we are, by the way, developing and bringing to market together.
Excellent. Yeah, that's truly impressive. Do you have an example of how this affected a customer in the real world, using your software?
Sure. I mean, many of them, but let's take one. One of our customers, Michelin, the tire manufacturer, well, they had a quite interesting subject because when they wanted to address the Chinese market, what they wanted to do is how to source the tire. Do they want to produce them with their 3 factories in China or to produce them somewhere else and bring them here? But when they look at that, it's so complex because they can decide to produce a small number each factory or a big number. But if they produce a big number, there is a lot of, additional cost because you have to change mold, you have to do a lot of different things. And the main problem they had was that, and it was very complex, was that they were having a demand forecast, but they knew that they would have to adapt to this demand forecast, but they knew also that this was volatile. It could, it could change from one day to another, from 1 month to another. And they wanted to find a solution to be able to make the best possible organization on a day-to-day basis, month-to-month basis.
So is it like a robustness check?
Yeah, it was finding the best solution, taking into account the need of being robust. So they did that. They used, I think, 80,000 different simulations to find the best possible way to do it.
Wow.
And the result was fantastic for me in 2 senses. First, because it's transparent, because it's simulation, the experts, before using it, they checked. They have looked at it and they say, oh my God, it can really work. And I remember the VP of supply chain at Michelin told me what was crazy is that they told us it works, but we would never have been able to imagine that it would be the solution.
Okay.
So that's very important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then they apply it and they increase the profit by 5%.
Wow.
And reduce the transport cost by 60%. So that's the kind of thing you can do when you have visibility on the future, thanks to AI simulation.
So that is truly disruptive. Listening to
it
is impressive.
Thank you.
Really impressive. So is there anything you would like to add that, we should know about what Cosmo Tech can do, or something we haven't covered so far?
Well, I think we cover the main points. And of course, I can speak about that for hours or days, but I'm not going to do it now. But really, for me, the very, very important thing to keep in mind is the complexity of the world is not going to decrease. The uncertainty in the world is not going to decrease. And because of that, tomorrow will never be like yesterday. So if you want to be able to make good decisions for tomorrow, you cannot only rely on what happened in the past. You need to have the possibility to see what I usually call not only the data from the past or the data from the present, but the data from the future, and choose the one and choose the future you want to go to.
So I truly appreciate the passion that you're bringing to this. This is really incredible work that you're doing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for your questions and for your invitation.